Do you want to tell our listeners about the Hive series that you initiated and you launched to bring together
Yeah,
working professional
absolutely. Yeah,
Latinos?
yeah,
Why don't you give
absolutely. And that
them?
could be probably something, Anthony, down the road, that if there's an alumni something through Greekster, we can infuse that with an Iconexon. So when I left my corporate life, I had this vision. I actually asked myself a question, and maybe it's a question that some of the listeners can ask themselves, as to why am I not engaged? Why am I not engaged? Back in the day when I would go to these different conferences, actually I was more engaged in Greekster and the stuff that I was able to
Yeah,
help create,
yeah,
because it spoke to me. Right. So I wanted to, before I left my corporate days, as an employee, I have corporate clients. I asked myself, all these different conferences I attend and so forth, why didn't I ever feel like I could participate? And the reality was the content wasn't relevant to me. The vibe didn't speak to me, and frankly, the people, not that they were bad or nothing negative to them. Again, they just weren't in my genre, in my space. So I said, hey, 9 years ago, I like wine. I want to go to Napa. There's no Latino multicultural. We weren't even saying multicultural back then. I think we were saying urban, conferences, meetups in Napa. I know, Anthony, you attend. I know, Jesus, you attempted to attend.
mhm,
And that's what we did. So first, actually, you were there, Anthony, the first one, 30,
Yeah,
and
it
Jennifer,
was
your
amazing.
wife. Yeah,
It was amazing.
32 people showed up, big names, but that wasn't the
Yeah,
focus. It was more so the experience. And we're going on our 10th year. And it's for people who want to reimagine their passion, success. We curate big thinkers. We care less about your title and more about how you think and vibe. To create an ecosystem where we are absolutely supporting and igniting each other. Now, I'm a firm believer that when you get the right minds in a room, that magic happens. And so we're just creating magic. It's
that's
called
beautiful, man.
iConnexion. They can go to the latinohive.com. So 10 years
Beautiful.
next year, I'm expecting to see both of you and the 27 listeners uh, to join us next April 27th, 28th
Beautiful.
in
I wanted to
Napa.
ask you this also, and I
And
realize
I'm
we're on.
sorry, and we only pour wines from Latino winemakers.
Nice.
very nice, very nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So I know we're on borrowed time, and we don't have a lot of time here today, but would love to.
I got about 15 more minutes, by the way. I'm still
Okay,
in for a call.
cool.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you this, and I've always been curious about this. We haven't found a lot of Richards in kind of our journey. When we were launching our
Oh, before I
agency,
forget, my age. You gave me a street name. You gave me RAR. You Jesus.
yes, I remember that.
Yeah, and
Um,
that's actually the name of my agency.
I remember that. That's beautiful. I will expect my royalties. I'll send the
You
royalty
gave me the
invoice.
name, but not the spelling. But I can give you part of it. Sure.
But no,
That's
my
funny.
question is this. So
Yeah.
during our venture into building our own agency, Tag Latino, we went out and talked to a lot of agencies, tried to sell our product. There weren't a lot of Richards on the other side, unfortunately. Like people who were kind of younger mentality and understood like the what is the word I'm looking for? The genuine, the true, almost like the street, like who's really has their, and what's the word I'm looking for here?
Grassroots, like thinkers and something like that.
I'm curious. Yeah, I'm curious to know why are there not more, or how do we find the grassroots thinkers like yourself who will see an idea?
I'm sorry. Give me 1
Yeah,
second. How can I help you?
So if I could jump in, I
Yeah.
think that what comes to mind when you said this is that I think that what we were doing is we were going to like these huge agencies, and huge agencies like the McCann Ericksons and the Yum brand, they don't like to take risks. And I think that's really where it lies, is where you want a sure thing, like you want a sure thing, you want to bet on the biggest type of event, like small mom and pop grassroots Latino college. What
I don't
isn't
think
sexy
so.
enough,
I don't know it.
it's too risky, I think.
I don't know, Anthony. My point of view is, and I think it's a healthy conversation, Jesus. I was very fortunate to have a leader that I reported to who said, well, if this is something you believe in, just make sure we have very specific, criteria of what is sponsored and so forth. If you feel passionate about it, then let's make it happen. So that's how I was able to make it happen. Now, granted, we had to work hard to create cool. Remember this is again when there were magazines, when we did the starving student competition.
Yeah.
Right. That went berserk because we had never heard of this before. And then we started getting all of these submissions that were done. Was it email? Because there was no Instagram back then.
It was, I think they had to either email or write a written letter. So
right. And I don't know how many students did. It started to really take flight. This is what I think. I think in order to, and I think also the times have changed. See, when we were doing this with Greekster, it didn't exist. So the idea of selling in Latino Stroll College was very foreign. We could sell a step show all day, but that's not who we were. The other thing is, this is a bold statement, so let's get a little controversial. When it comes to Latinos, generally speaking, in corporate America, I don't see many of us on this screen, meaning how we think. My experience has been status quo among my colleagues, has been quite vanilla. They'll do college, but they want to do a scholarship. Great. That's awesome, So I think that's also a challenge, is to get in with folks who are willing to be controversial internally within their company. And then, begin to really seed and nurture the relationship and build that confidence, because this is against the grain. But I do think that time has changed.
Yeah.
I do think that we could do a stroll show, and I do think there will be some dollars.
Right. And yeah, I think and sorry, I know I'm monopolizing this conversation, but I think,
no, please.
I think from a diversity perspective, we are seeing more leaders be hired and put in positions that are more like us, or that were like us when we were in college, or, coming out of college. So I think that's changed. But again, the dynamics of college shows, we haven't seen kind of where that's gone ourselves,
Right.
because we've stepped away for a little bit. So that is interesting.
Well, I don't know though, man. I mean, I think this is, again, let's get a little controversial. What I'm seeing when it comes to diversity and inclusion among corporate America is that Black is the new Black.
Yeah.
And God bless them, and God bless America.
What do you mean by that? I don't.
And in the meantime, let me finish my point. But in the meantime, there's a lot of brown in the middle that's not being elevated. So what I mean by that, Anthony, is that a lot of these diversity and inclusion, chief diversity officer positions and so forth, open positions for senior leaders, I've seen a lot, especially on LinkedIn, is being promoted to Black men and women. Not suggesting that they're not capable. What I'm saying though, I think now even more so in light of the social unrest last summer, I think as Latinos, we have a greater opportunity and a little bit more of a lift to say, hey, don't forget us. Let me remind you of who we are. And that's important. Now, I also think it's an opportunity for us to create greater allyship with different groups, all groups, quite frankly. I was in a conversation just yesterday, and it was 3 African-American women, 2 Latinos, 1 female, 1 male. And this was for a global initiative. And one of the women on the call said something like, well, let me provide my feedback for this, and I'm a Black woman. And I said, yeah, and we also have a Latina on the call. And when I said that, she simmered down.
Oof.
And but my point is, we have to sometimes say, with my mask, I'm here too, and be unabashful about it.
Yeah.
That's my point of view.
I don't think that's controversial at all. I mean,
okay, great.
That's and I'd even step back and say that's always been the case. Like, I don't get where I get today if I don't stand up for myself, if I don't have a voice in the company. But
you're standing up for yourself as Jesus. You're not standing up for yourself as a Latino, to be represented. And I think that's, I think
that's fair.
that's the distinct difference, is that we're having to raise, with clients, sometimes I'll raise my hand and be like, have we thought about, oh, I didn't think about that. Okay. You know, so again, I do see a greater opportunity for us.
Yeah.
But in terms of finding more advocates, man, I just think it takes a lot more time. Again, I see a lot more innovation, creativity outside of the Latino space. You know, the Asian market, my gosh.
Oh, why is that, Richard? I think it goes.
I think that we're
to
conservative.
me.
I think
Right. It's like they don't want to take risks. People don't want to take risks, and I think that's really.
And that's why we got to go.
conservatism.
And so to your point, Anthony, I think that's where the alumni with their disposable income can be of value. Why can't we have our own fund us? Corporate America, we shouldn't have to be reliant on public-private sector. Big business I'm talking about.
Very true. Very true.
But now how do we get there? I do think we got to, like what you all are doing now, I think we have to be more vigilant and consistent in telling stories from many different dimensions. I think storytelling is, and it's also very cultural for us, but I think storytelling is critical. So maybe we need to think on that, you know, what is it going to take to be stronger storytellers to then pull people in versus constantly pushing content, you know, out.
So Rich, you have your own agency now. Why don't you tell listeners and future listeners what, you know, things, obstacles you had to overcome in order to kind of get to where you are?
Fear is number one. I'm a firm believer. Every day I tell myself to funk fear, you know, and then ask myself, where's that fear coming from? And quite frankly, a lot of times that fear is coming from my own ego. I was in a little TV interview yesterday. I know that sounds fancy.
A little TV interview.
And I was going to cancel it because I didn't I don't want to do it. I'm like, dude, get your ass up and go. It's a Zoom 3-minute interview. Relax. You know, and then I was always tripping, like, where am I? You know, it just, so I think we have to get out of our own way. You know, I think that, and I think also too, I keep referencing my age, but I launched my agency when I was 42, you know, and that was scary as hell. And so what I did though, and in fact, this last birthday, I reminded myself of that person that was 22, 23, that moved to DC from a little town in California with no job. Ended up living in DC for 5 years, working for the US Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, got recruited to then work for a company that spun off from PepsiCo, Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, and KFC. That company then morphed into what we now know as Yum Brands, and I was with Yum for 13 years. And I had the luxury, the blessing to say, I'm done. Had a little bit of money in the bank, not a lot, a little bit of friends, you know, to do my own thing. And now 9 years later, I can say this, I have not tapped into my financial reserve. The financial reserve I kept when I left my corporate gig, just in case nothing ever worked out, right? And how I was able, and how I've been able to build clients, even in light of COVID, was through my network. So advice number 2, if you don't have you have to constantly challenge your net. If you don't challenge your net, then you don't have a network. Your net's not working. You two are part of my forever network, my family. I know I can rely on you, and vice versa. So each of you represent a strand, right? A piece of that rope that's in this net, sort of a little analogy I'm giving you. But a lot of times we think that we start collecting people as if we have some network. You don't have a network, you have a collection. So I have to remind myself, I was just stuck in an airport, 2 airports a couple of months ago on travel. And one of them was Dallas. I'm like, damn, who do I know in Dallas just in case I got to get out, you know? I had like 6 people where I felt comfortable where I could go and crash. New York, when I was going to New York, Anthony, I know I can go stay with Anthony if I need to, or I can go, right? That's how you know, not only do you have like a system or ecosystem, but you have a network. And I would challenge those who want to go on their own to ask themselves, who really is in my net? So that's how I've been able to And then lastly, not to be afraid. So back to the fear, don't be afraid, which I don't do I'm not good at this. I'm not really good at pitching business because I don't want rejection. So maybe that's something else I got to go and talk to my therapist on. But yeah, not to be afraid. What are they going to say? No? Yeah, but I know how that feels.
Well, you've been in business for 9 years, so I mean, you're doing something right.
Imagine if I got my hustle on and was more like you, Anthony, and cared more about the money. I'd be rolling in it, but I don't. Yeah, I could be a better closer. I'm not. I should bring you in, Anthony, to be the closer.
Let me ask this. Let me ask this, because thanks for dropping those jewels like this. That's jewels for our audience. Let's say because this is the position I felt like I was in when I was 34 years old after we had, had to wrap up our company. And what you talked about, the network and being kind of like solid strands that you could kind of lean on. You were one of the very few people that I felt I actually had that I could call and say, Richard, I have an interview at this XYZ company, I need your help. How does a 35-year-old, let's say, who may have no network, may have not thought about it the way you thought about it, how does that person, where do they start? How do they start finding and building that net to make sure that they're...
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because how a young person views a network is different than perhaps how I view a network. And even networking, I'm hearing the word socializing now, by the way, among young professional groups. So we're gonna go socialize, where I would think, oh, I'm not doing that. Because for me, it's a distinct difference. How I network and how I socialize, how I define it are two different sort of personas. I'm still the same person, but how I show up is going to be a little different. What I would encourage somebody in their 30s to do is ask themselves, what do I need? What do I need? What do I want? And then ask yourself, who is going to be able to get me to that need and that want? And be really realistic. Be really define that person. But that also means that you, the individual, have to define what you really need and what you want. Because most times what you need, you already have, aside from capital.
That's stoic. That's it's all within you. I like it.
100%, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it comes to a point where we have to sort of inspire and support within. Young people today, they'll just go make things happen. But I also want to encourage people to know that networking is not about LinkedIn. It's not about Instagram. It's not derived by social media. Social media is a mechanism, is a platform. But shaking hands face to face is equally important,
That's what I was gonna ask you. How do you get deeper other than social media? How do you make those relationships deeper?
It could be pick up a phone, someone that you met versus send them an email. How old school is that to actually call someone? How old school is that I can name 4 people, one person in particular. I was at a conference many, many years ago, and I was speaking and I said that I loved a particular candy, C's candy for your listeners, by the way. And she happens to be from California. She sent me a box of candy with a handwritten note. I will never forget Michelle. Her name just hit my head. I will never forget Michelle ever. And Michelle and I have kept in contact. She's on Facebook, and now she's leading an organization I don't know why I'm pointing this way, but she's leading an organization in Seattle. Again, people need personal touch. You're never too busy to send a little note. Imagine if someone sent you a handwritten note. You'd be like, what is this? This is different. So networking to me, I believe networking is more of an art than a science.
Yeah, it's almost like I just want to shut up and let you kind of take the mic, because you. So let me ask you this. I'm curious. So you get brought onto TV to talk about different topics. What are your personal, when you're on a stage with a microphone? Sure. What is it that you love to do the most, or love to kind of I think I know the answer, but I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, sure. No, thank you. I've been on this new sort of kick on redefining my quote unquote personal brand, because I think that we now need to stop I think we need to unbrand ourselves. And I think the idea that we're a brand is a fallacy.
Really?
This notion that you're a brand.
People have built their entire businesses around that specific thing you're saying is a fallacy.
Well, let's deconstruct it. Let's
Yeah,
deconstruct
no,
it. Because I walk into a room, I'm not a brand, I'm a person. The brand, it's like a logo. Just because you have a logo means doesn't mean you have a brand. You have a mark, you have a design. What a brand is I believe, is an emotion. It prompts you to take action. That doesn't happen overnight. So no, you're not a brand. You're a person with a personality. And as I get to know that personality more and I get to vibe with you, then you become cemented as, but out the gate, you're not a brand. The other piece I think also is that people get confused with branding with personal brand as the packaging. So if you wear a yellow rose, that's part of your brand. No, that's not part of your brand. That's just the packaging of your brand. People don't buy Coke because it's a red can. People don't pick a designer, right? They buy it because it makes them feel good. It's a status symbol. It's whatever.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been on as of late. I haven't shared this. By the way, this is the first time I've actually shared this idea of unbranding myself. And I can share though that the times I have talked about personal branding, it's what I talked about in this interview I just mentioned yesterday. The question was, what does a startup company need to do in order to be successful? And I said, ask yourself 3 questions. And that is what, so what, and now what? And I believe the same can apply to your personal brand. Pick a lane. So on a personal brand is, what do I want to be known as? What's not working? What's blocking me? So on. The so what then challenges what you believe to be the truth about your brand. It's sort of your R&D, your research and define. And then the now what is, if you want to get sort of technical, it's to then to define and execute a strategy, right? And then it's a never ending self-fulfilling prophecy. So you have to, once you've got your now what down, then you go back to your what. So what, and now what?
When is that book dropping? When are you dropping the?
Seriously, yeah.
I don't know about dropping a book, but why don't we just start this dope movement of just, I don't know what that is, unbranding ourselves. Everyone wants to be a brand. Everybody wants to be, well, I got sucked in and I'm on TikTok now too. And I keep, I need to do a video of like TikTok made me do it because I've been buying shoes from TikTok and I don't know, seasonings and stuff. And I just want Latinos in particular to feel, for those who, kind of wave the flag as being the only, I want them to know that, being the only doesn't mean you have to feel lonely. And I think that's important for them to see. Give me 1 second. Yeah. What have you and Anthony discovered as you're going through, memory lane? Has there been some aha moments?
Yeah. I mean, first and foremost, so Anthony, the question Richard just asked was about what have we learned in going through memory lane?
I heard it.
These
Yep.
experiences. Oh, why don't you weigh in there first and I'll jump in.
I think I need some more time to gather my thoughts on that.
Okay. Well, I'll say this, hearing Anthony tell his side of the story, which even though we worked closely together for many, many years, I never really heard or asked for his side of the story. And it's not because I didn't care. It's just I didn't think to even ask him, like, what were you feeling at that moment or at that event or at that show or when you left and I was still there? Like, there's a lot of things that are coming out that I think were new, for me. And so I'm reliving these years, not only to document it for my kids so that they can see their dad and his legacy in his 40s and kind of how I matured, but also like I'm learning, at the same time. So I think the biggest thing for me coming out of these, how many 24 episodes that we have now,
28.
has been the idea, and this is going to sound so naive that I didn't think about it when we were doing it, but the idea that what we were doing in our space was so groundbreaking, not not because of the revenue we made or didn't make, more because we were the only Latino entrepreneurs at the age of 25, 26, who were bringing together Latino organizations that historically hated each other, that fought, that rebelled, that competed, but we were bringing them together, forcing them to share dressing rooms, forcing them to work together. And we were uniting a very divided community. And I never thought about it in that way. And like that's so groundbreaking. And it's like, there's still a need for that. You know, it's like,
Totally.
the older we get, the more divided it seems people start to, you know, kind of siphon off. So
well, and we still have crazy stuff like colorism in our own communities. You know, we still have stuff about, just in general, we have a lot of stuff in our own that we've got to work through. And I don't know if we'll see it in our lifetime. I mean, the Latinx, I referenced the term Latinx, that's caused, you know, division.
Yeah, it's like there's a million ways to cut it. You're right.
Yeah.
What's your definition, or what's your understanding of the term Latinx, Richard, being from California?
Yeah, I think it's a universal sort of non-binary, you know, trying to be all inclusive to all. I get it. I don't subscribe to it. Yeah, and
why is that? Why don't you subscribe to it?
Because I think if you're going to change language, then change it all. You know, and I also feel like it's been forced. But then again, so is the term Hispanic, and for some people, so is the term Latino. And you know, there's people out there, young people in particular, who want to be identified by their nationality. Well, that's not possible when we're trying to group everybody together. Even on the Asian side, why isn't there Asian X? Again, just making this up, but you know, it's the same thing, right? You got Asian Indian in the same spot, sort of lumped in the same group as North Asians.
I think Asian X is on its way. You gotta wait a few.
I think you just coined it, Richard.
I think I just did it. Exactly. I think you guys are just doing I think this is super, super, super cool. Hopefully, my prayer is that, my hope is that it sparks broader, deeper innovation. And others who watch this can, you know, also raise their hand and be like, yeah, I'm down. Let's go stir some stuff up.
What's interesting about, we haven't had many guests, you know, interviewees. You're the third. So Alan Suarez, Dana Romagera, and then you. And then what I'm noticing.
Did you lose listeners, viewers after Alan? Because that would make sense.
No, actually, it spiked. It spiked up. That's actually probably one of our highest episodes.
Got it. So he set the bar pretty high. Got it.
No. But he spoke from the heart.
Okay.
What I'm realizing is that every person we speak with on our show has a different perspective and a different lens on everything. And you know, there's little tweaks here and there, but everyone has like a really great idea on where things should go or could go, and interesting.
What? So like what?
Well, Diana last week spoke about, again, just filling us in on like this market is still untapped. People are not servicing it. Latino Greek population is going down. It's like diminishing. You know, and again, that makes me think, well, then, all right. So then talking to you, it makes me think like, well, we should maybe then focus on alumni, Greek alumni that have already graduated and are like in their 40s, like us, and again, have money and maybe want to spend it, and tie it into what you just said, which is, you know, events or some type of structure or entity that helps the younger guys come along the process.
We tried this. Remember that we tried this? We were pitching Disney. We want to do something there. Remember that? And I think we did. We created we
I remember,
designed a vertical for the alumni. Yeah, so absolutely. I mean, I think it's there. I just don't know, haven't thought through yet, you know, how to make that happen.
I think this conversation probably will lead us there. It's like someone from Disney will tune in or be forwarded, and then they'll be like, listen to what these guys are talking about, and they might call us in.
I think just go knock on Disney's door.
Or that,
You know?
yeah, even easier. Or put a call, put a
Yeah,
phone
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, right.
I'll write a little note and mail it to Disney.
Handwritten.
Pensions.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, a handwritten note, and I'll
Right.
mail it.
Exactly. I appreciate
Awesome.
that. I appreciate that.
So where can people find you, find your stuff?
Yeah, you can find me on social. So Richard A. I'm not sure what my handle, but you can email me if you like. Rugnao at RARworld.com. Rugnao, RUGNAO. I'm on IG, Facebook, all of them. Let me just say, I don't want you to, by the way, and your listeners to, I've been watching this thing on LinkedIn. I've been on LinkedIn lately, and I'm so humbled and honored. So when you guys, when you guys get that big $2 million check, don't be talking about how humbled and honored you are with that, with the photo of the check. Just downplay it.
Don't humble brag on.
Humble brag. There you
social.
go. Thank you. I think LinkedIn should change their name to Humbled and Honored.
Humble brag. Humblebrag.com.
Right. Oh, I might have to take that.
Good one.
Yeah.
Please don't steal it. Humble
You're
brag.
you're freestyling and you don't even know it.
Isn't that what all social media is about?
Pretty much.
It's just a humble brag on how great I am. Look at me. Me. Look what I'm doing.
I love it's like I got an award, but I'm so humbled and honored. But I want you to see that I got an award. Right? Yeah. I got promoted, but I'm so humbled and honored that I got promoted. So hey, look at me.
That's the game, man. Everyone learns how to play the game. Everyone's just playing the game that has been structured in our society.
Well, and again, back to the storytelling. I think that's an opportunity that we have. I'll say we, because I feel like I'm part of the crew. On the socials. I mean, I've seen
3fatboys.com.
Like what'd you say?
3fatboys.com.
2 frat boys and 1 wannabe.com. I did do frat. Yeah, I'm okay. I claim it.
Honorary. There's actually a term for honorary.
What is it?
Brother. No, it's called honorary brothers. We have
gotcha.
honorary brothers.
But again, it's all about storytelling. It's about uplifting profiles. It's getting people just super excited. Because again, I think there's a lot of students, even alumni out in the world are like, shit, whatever happened to, who are just sitting back waiting. Yeah. And then I see stuff that other people are doing, and selfishly, I think ours is much sexier. No one's doing the stuff. No one's doing the stuff that you guys. I mean, from what I saw back in the day, no, I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing like the hype.
I think to that point, and this is another thing that's come out of these conversations has been that like the level of detail that we gave our events that no one else cared. Like no one else baked in as much experience as we did into what we were doing.
In terms of the production and
well, Anthony definitely is an operations magnet. So, you kept things in line and flowing.
Thank you. As I humble brag, I appreciate it.
Well, you got to post that clip that sound bite that I just gave you.
I'll never do that
on social. Then you can.
I'm trying to go against the grain with social media.
Got it. So you're doing handwritten letters.
Pretty much.
That's all. That's good.
Actually, I do things in Braille. It's even better.
Cool. I'm not trying to rap here.
It's all about diversity.
Exactly.
Well, let's do it again. Thank you so much for the invite.
Thank you, Richard, for blessing our listeners with all your knowledge and expertise and wisdom. So very, very, very thankful.
Why do I feel like 100 now? I feel like I'm like 85 years old.
And now you can go on and humble brag that you were on our show, 2fatboys.com.
I'm going to change my name to Mr. Miyagi.